Hey, this is Gabriel Rowald, and I'm talking Cinesmack on Southsider Studios' podcasting system. For more great podcast programming, visit southsiderstudios.com or search Southsider Studios on iTunes. Thanks.
Psst, hey, you got Stitcher? Well, we're on it, so get it! Southsider Studios now on Stitcher. Stitcher is an award-winning provider of news and talk radio for your mobile phone. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome back to Cinesmack. This is fight number 15. I am Mike Keeler, your host, and joining me are my co-hosts, Tom Haggis.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Sam Twomey.
Good evening.
Gabriel Rowald.
I'll be your rock if you'll be my Doris.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And joining us is a special co-host. He's a photojournalist for KCCI, videographer and editor at Blur Media Works, and currently has 2 independent films in post-production that he's been a part of, Mr. Tom Rapp.
Hello, everybody. Never drink anything stronger than you or older.
Nice.
Thanks for joining us, Tom.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here in my apartment.
In your I'd invite you over to the studio, but it's a mess. The waterfall's broken. Yeah, it's just awful. The monkey's been flinging poo. It's bad.
The tiger got out of the cage. You know, it's fine.
Yeah. You understand. I'm glad you do. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Speaking of the monkey, I'm going to poke him.
Ladies and gentlemen, swingers and spinsters, welcome to tonight's special Valentine's Day main event. In the first quarter, from 1959, directed by Michael Gordon, starring Rock Hudson, Doris Day, and Tony Randall, Pillow Talk. In the second quarter, from 2003, directed by Peyton Reed, starring Ewan McGregor, Renee Zellweger, and David Hyde Pierce, Down with Love. It's The Rock versus The Block in a concrete pillow cage match of hell.
All right. Good job, monkey. Not a lot of people know this. He does that in front of a live audience, by the way. We sell out Wells Fargo.
I'm sorry. We were supposed to watch Pillow Talk because I watched the Ewan McGregor movie Pillow Book where he runs around naked for the entire movie.
Oh, goodness.
That's okay. I'll wing it. I'm good. Go ahead.
All right, Sam. You're first up for our first part, which is writing. Go ahead.
Well, I always hate going first, but it's all good. This week this month's podcast is a lot of fun in that we're doing some lighter films, a genre that may be surprising to some of our listeners that there's 4 dudes talking about romantic comedies, but
drink it in.
Yeah. So you might not agree with all the views we have, but I think it'll be an interesting view on these 2 films. I had seen them both. Hadn't seen Pillow Talk in a long time, and it was a real joy to watch and kind of experience. I think the writing. There are several writers that are credited on Pillow Talk, and usually anytime you see a lot of writers, that's an indication of some, not so strong story because so many people had to work on it. But I don't think that's the case here in Pillow Talk. I think it's the story is paced very well. You get to know these characters right from the beginning, You get the feeling of who they are, how the relationship is going to play out. The material in the original Pillow Talk may be a little dated because of the party line and some of those other references, but I think in general it holds up very well. It tells a very fun story. There's just enough sex in there. It's not overboard, and they're still dealing with the end of the production code here, but they're really poking it with funny holes and making what the audience thinks is dirty. You don't, just like in horror films, you don't necessarily have to show it. Sometimes you can imagine something that's, scarier than if you show it to them in a horror film. The same thing can be true in comedy, where if the joke, they get the joke, it's funnier to everyone in different ways. But there's just enough sex. They're joking about sex, and it's really fun because they don't dwell on it. They don't kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They play it very straight. And to me, that's where some of the comedy comes in. And we'll probably talk about that in the acting. Down with Love, when I first watched it, I thought, oh, this is really, really good. And then coming back to watch it again, I think the story is serviceable. I mean, it does. We're going to talk about how much this film pays homage to Pillow Talk. I mean, the characters and all kinds of different ways, and you see that, and that's a nice respect, actually, of the film Pillow Talk, in my opinion. They're really saying, in a lot of ways, because they made this film, they helped expose a newer generation to the older film, and. But the writing to me is just, it's not as much fun. It's not as much fun as an audience member to get wrapped up in that story, especially toward the end when, it starts flipping back and forth and she knew this all the time and all that kind of stuff. So all the movie that we just watched, even though, yes, it's nice to have the surprise that she knew about it, but it's kind of like all that fun stuff we were into, the love story and whatnot, is kind of cheapened in a way because it's there wasn't that chase. It was she always knew, and I think also a lot of the jokes they try to work in some of the sexual innuendos like they did in Pillow Talk, but the characters, and some of this may be with the performance as well, but the characters kind of laugh at those own puns, and they just don't feel the same when they're played out, in my opinion. So. Long story short, for writing, I'm going to have to give it to Pillow Talk.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Let's go ahead and go to Tom.
I saw Down with Love when it first came out, and I had only seen it once since then. And, as soon as it came out on DVD, I bought it and I put it up on the shelf, and it's been sitting there in its little pink plastic case and never getting watched. So I was kind of excited to get back and watch it again to see if I liked it as much as I did. And I really did. I thought the writing was really funny, and the way that they worked a lot of the jokes in, and it was over the top, and it was ridiculous, and it was silly, but the writers committed to it, and I really like that aspect of it. Pillow Talk, and this is going to keep coming up over and over again, really, I think suffers from the datedness of it. It just there's a lot of jokes and social norms that are really dated in this. My 3-year-old daughter was kind of running around the house while I was sitting through this, and I was like, I don't want you to see this, sweetie, because it's perfectly all right for you to grow up and not get married. The worst thing, the only thing worse than a single woman is a woman that feels that there's nothing wrong with that. I was just like, oh no, you did not. So, but it's not the first time I've been watching a movie for the podcast and had to, shoo my 3-year-old out of the room. So I'm going to give it to Down with Love, just because I like the commitment of the story. I'm really going to be really interested to go back and watch Down with Love 30, 40 years from now and see if the jokes are even more are dated like the Pillow Talk ones. I guess Down with Love should lose some points for kind of making fun. It's almost like they're making fun of Pillow Talk and that idea. But it really kind of shows us how far, we've come in terms of watching a movie like that on this side, of the sexual revolution. So, but I'll give it to Down with Love because I like it.
All right. Thank you, Tom. let's go on over to Gabe.
Well, these two are a little bit different than what we've done in the past, in that they are fairly light fare. And I'm not saying that just because they're entertaining and lighter movies that the writing is necessarily not as good. But I feel for both of these, I don't know that the writing is super strong for either of these. They're fun, they're entertaining, and I enjoyed them both very much. But I don't feel like either one of them really stands out from a writing standpoint. Like, wow, that was really well written, or that was really creative, or anything like that. I felt like Down with Love, I enjoyed it, but it really is an homage to Pillow Talk directly and to other movies of that generation and of that kind of style. And so it's really, from a writing standpoint, I feel like a lot of it is kind of lifted, if you know what I mean. It's kind of borrowed a little bit.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's not original in that sense. It was well written, but I also felt like the humor was very, and I wrote in my notes, it's very punny. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of puns, a lot of plays on words, and those kinds of things. And while I kind of enjoyed it, and there were parts where I actually kind of chuckled out loud, I just didn't feel like it was necessarily all that original or super terribly creative. And for that reason, I think I'm going to have to say that Pillow Talk being the inspiration for that movie, in large part, and being kind of the original source, I'm going to have to give Pillow Talk my vote for that originality mostly.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Gabe. Rap, you're up.
All right. Well, thank you, Gabe, for taking exactly what I was going to say.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Talks
about going last. Is there anybody else what you want to say?
Yeah. You did touch on a couple things that I really liked. That I felt I didn't. I'm gonna have to go back a little bit. I have to preface. I'm not a huge romantic comedy fan, especially. I'm usually watching everything but romantic comedies. But I think my problem was, Down with Love kind of fell to the era where nowadays, over the last decade, movies or writers just seem to look to other countries or look back in time or look for books for inspiration or how to write a script. It doesn't seem like there's enough originality anymore. And it's kind of sad, but there are plenty of good movies. I'm not saying all movies nowadays are bad, but Down with Love definitely has that, where it just, there's so many homages from Down with Love to Pillow Talk that it's like, well, Down with Love's kind of just like a remake of Pillow Talk almost. Mm-hmm. Even down to the point where Ewan McGregor has those switches in his apartment that open up the bed and turn on the record player. Those are exactly in Pillow Talk.
Right. And he takes on the accent that's almost kind of like a southern or kind of a
he took on like a hickish twang. Yeah, definitely saw that. I did enjoy parts of a good amount of Pillow Talk. Like I liked seeing that generation and some of the kind of quirks and like the writing. The point I found early in the film was when I can't remember the character's name. He's talking about being a millionaire and how everyone's out to try and catch the millionaires. I thought that was it's Tony Randall's character. Thought it was interesting when he talked about kind of the class warfare that was going on at the time that kind of still exists today. That the rich are kind of off in their own world and all the other classes are trying to get at them. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I'm going to keep it kind of short and sweet because I didn't think the writing was super extensively great on either of these films, but I'll give it to Pillow Talk.
All right. Thanks, Rep. Just real quick, Rock Hudson turned down the film 3 times, believing the script to be too risque. So you guys are talking about how it's dated. That's very dated right there. And Barbara's long monologue in Down with Love, it lasts 3 minutes, 2 seconds, and a single unbroken shot. It took 6 takes to get it right.
That's actually fewer than I would have expected.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially from her.
I don't
especially from her.
Yeah, I don't know about her as an actress, but yeah, I think any actor would have a hard time with a monologue quite that long.
Okay, well, I want to ask you all, since it is an homage, since Down with Love is an homage to Pillow Talk, do you think that you would have, written it differently? What would you have taken out? What would have stayed in? Anybody? You guys have any thoughts on that?
One thing Sam pointed out that I kind of forgot to mention earlier was that the whole time the fun was fake when we find out Renee Zellweger was just playing him the entire time.
Right.
So those kind of things kind of frustrate me in movies because then it's like, well, then why did I just spend an hour and a half watching this film if none of that was actually real?
I agree. I felt kind of the same way. Gabe, Sam, Tom, you guys have anything to add?
Your question is, what would we leave out of Pillow Talk? If we were
no, of Down with Love, or what would you have changed or added?
I really would have changed that whole turnabout twist at the end.
Okay.
Or maybe softened it in some ways. And I think I would have the characters play it more straight as opposed to, reacting to the puns or accentuating the puns, to play a little more straight and let the audience laugh when they're supposed to laugh, not when they're told to.
Okay. All right. Tom, Gabe, anything?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I mean, I like the delivery and the, breaking the fourth wall and the quick look at the camera. And I mean, they didn't actually look at the camera, but it was it was a little bit forced, but again, I feel that's the story that they were telling. It is very very silly, and people don't actually talk like this. And I mean, that's kind of why I think I prefer Down with Love, is that it commits to it in such a way, and it connected with me because in a way the Pillow Talk didn't, because of the datedness of it.
Okay.
Just one side thing I just remembered: Pillow Talk did win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, so that's not always a correct pick, but I mean that does show that for its time it was recognized as a well written movie.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our second round, which is acting, and we will start off with Tom.
This is again, it's funny that we keep doing these, and it seems like I'd be interested to see how we do this, but I feel like we're going to talk a lot about the supporting cast of both of these movies, because yes, Ewan McGregor is really great, and Rock Hudson and Doris Day are really great. I personally, I'm not a huge fan of Doris Day or Renee Zellweger, so I'm gonna just go ahead and cross them off, and I don't want to talk about them because I don't really find either of them to be what I'd call really talented actresses, despite the awards that they've been nominated for, blah blah blah. Because I'm just not a Renee Zellweger fan. I really gave her a chance, and I own 3 or 4 of her movies, and I really love Jerry Maguire. I'll just go ahead and say that, the chick flick disguised as a sports movie.
That's going to be your pick this month, right?
No, I think everybody's seen it, so so. And I gave her a chance, and I tried to like Chicago and everything else, but I just cannot get on the Zellweger train, which I have not seen in like 2 or 3 years. So that's kind of good that she's not out there. So what I want to talk about basically is the supporting cast. Okay. I thought, first of all, Thelma Ritter in Pillow Talk was so awesome as Alma. She is really wonderful, and she's one of she was in All About Eve. And she keeps popping up in these movies and stealing scenes from people like Betty Davis and Rock Hudson and Doris Day, and taking these little tiny roles that she's given and just sucking the air out of the room and pointing everything at her. And she's so very, very great at that. The same can be said with Sarah Paulson and David Hyde Pierce, who, you could argue that they are probably the best parts, I think, of Down with Love, is their the work of the two of them together and their scenes with the principals. It's really one of my favorite parts of the movie, is just watching the two of them, and David Hyde Pierce especially is absolutely just hysterical.
I agree.
So, that being said, I'd have to say with between the two, I'd probably lean towards Down with Love for acting. I feel that Ewan McGregor tops Rock Hudson a little bit in his portrayal of the male lead. So I'm going to give it to Down with Love, also because I'm the only one voting for that movie so far tonight. So
All
I have to go pick. I got to find a manly pick to do for recommendations later.
Sticking to his guns. Go ahead, Gabe. You're up.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with Tom on the whole Rock Hudson, Ewan McGregor thing.
Come on, dude!
Yeah, I know.
Fight!
I know.
Fight!
Yes.
Fight!
We're going to have a little
Back it up!
I'm up against the ropes here, you guys.
Yeah, I know, because, but in that particular instance, in that particular character, because I felt like Rock Hudson, as ironic as it may be, I felt like Rock Hudson was a more convincingly masculine, convincingly alpha male, convincingly attractive guy than Ewan McGregor. Now, I like Ewan McGregor as an actor, but I didn't feel like that was his strong point. I especially there were some scenes early in Down with Love where he showed up without his shirt on. There were a number of scenes where he kind of showed up without his shirt on and that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, he's kind of he still kind of has the heroin addict aesthetic. He's really very kind of, thin and gangly. And I thought maybe he had put that on for, Train Spotting or something. But I think that's just his metabolism must be really high or something. So, and I just felt like he wasn't as suave and masculine and as kind of, like I said before, ironically, kind of convincing in that character as Rock Hudson was. I thought Rock Hudson was much better of kind of a womanizer in that role. And it's again, it's a little bit lighter fare, and the approach to acting in both of these movies is really different. Not from each other, but from what we've looked at before. In that it's kind of almost campy on purpose. It's intentionally kind of goofy. It's not necessarily the acting is intended to be kind of light and fun too, right. And I think it works in both of these movies, but it makes it difficult for me to say like which is really the best acting, because I'm not sure. I don't know if it's hard to pretend that you're acting or not. I don't know. So it's really a difficult choice for me on these. I think they both, the acting in both movies served each of them well. Mm-hmm. So it's tough. I'm really kind of on the fence. Yeah, and Doris Day. I don't know. Doris Day. I'm not sure she's a great actress, but she's got a beautiful voice.
Agreed.
She can really sing. She's got a beautiful voice, a much better voice than Renee Zellweger. I don't know. I really don't know where to go. I want to give these movies a tie as far as the acting category, but since we've never done that before, it's unprecedented. I think break
the mold. Break the mold.
Yeah, no, I can't do it. I'm a conformist at heart. I think I'm gonna have to go with Pillow Talk on the acting. I thought it served. I thought it served its purpose better. I mean, they were both intentionally campy, but again, I think I have to tip my hat to the original.
All right, thank you, Gabe. Wrap.
All right. Well, I guess it's going to be the Toms agreeing this round. I'm just going to jump off right at the bat and say that I enjoyed the acting in Pillow Talk better.
Hell yes.
I kind of, the way I have it just kind of written down is I just took the four main characters and picked who I liked better. Renee Zellweger as the beautiful leading lady, I don't find her very attractive. She's got a really strong jawline and she's super thin, and I don't know. She's not attractive, so then I lose interest in seeing her as a sex symbol. Doris Day, I thought Doris Day did a great job in Pillow Talk. I thought she carried the leading lady role very well. She's a very beautiful woman. Then I moved to the male leads. I wasn't too into Rock Hudson. He didn't really do much for me. I think what kind of threw me pretty early on was that scene when the phone operator or the phone lady comes to the door, and he doesn't really seem suave. He seems more creepy.
He does kind of come across a little bit creepy in that scene.
And he's like, "How can I?" She's like, "How can I service you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know." That was just a whole super creepy exchange. So I went with Ewan McGregor, even though he does look kind of like a twink. I think the only wash I had of the four leads was probably the supporting actor. I thought Tony Randall was great, and so was David Hyde Pierce. I think they both played that great, neurotic guy who's kind of... They've both been given power. They're both born into having the money they had, but I think they played the roles extremely well. David Hyde Pierce does play a lot of neurotic guys, but, if he's typecast, it's fine. He's very good at it. He does the role very well. Tony Randall, I'm a big fan of. I enjoy pretty much everything. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with the wash there. And then, yeah, even the supporting actresses, I thought Thelma Ritter, she did a great job. Every time she came in, she stole the scene away from Doris. The Sarah Paulson, she played Vicky. I had to look up her name. I didn't know who she was before I saw the movie. I thought she did a good job. I thought the interaction she had with David Hyde Pierce was kind of an interesting little side story that they kept bringing back and forth. And I think what tipped the scale, in my opinion, was Rachel Dratch's surprise appearance, popping up as the ugly secretary who turns into somewhat attractive at the end.
All right, so you're going with Down with Love.
Down with Love in the acting category.
All right. Thank you, Rap. Sam, you ready?
I am so ready. I only disagree with one thing that everybody said, so it's not like I want to gang up on one person.
Oh, come on, do it.
Well, to each their own.
Bring it on.
Yeah. I mean, there are enjoyable performances in both of these pieces. And unlike Tom, I'm not going to eliminate someone just because I don't necessarily like them. Although I will agree with some of what all of you have said that, I think Renee Zellweger has her moments. In this film, her style of acting and also the way she was photographed, it was hard to get into her character. Like, there were times where you couldn't see her eyes. You just saw like slits. You couldn't get into.
She's like that. She's like that all the time.
Yeah, she's very squinty.
It's like that makes it hard for me. Like, I want to see the eyes, and like in those scenes, you'll cut to the other side, the reverse shot of the other actor, and his eyes are like wide open. Like, oh my god, I'm a real person. And then it's like, is she fucking high or something?
She's the female Clint Eastwood.
I don't know.
Yeah, but he's badass.
Yeah, he's bad A.
Yeah, it's cool on Clint.
I'm not going to spend all my time on her because I think there was a lot better performances in Down with Love. And let's face it, it was an incredible cast and supporting cast. There was all kinds of different dynamics in there. I thought that the material kind of let them down in Down with Love and some of the way they were not playing it as straight as I would have liked them to. I've said that before. I'll say it again. One thing that is so amazing about the performance in Down with Love is, and you guys had mentioned, is David Hyde Pierce. Like, he excels. Like, he steals so many scenes. Like, and I love Ian McGregor. I mean, I love Trainspotting. I liked him as Obi-Wan, not necessarily the movies themselves, but I like him as an actor. I think he's great. But I think Tom's touched on this at the beginning. Gabe talked about it a little bit about, Rock Hudson was kind of the man's man. He was I thought he was suave, not creepy, Tom. I don't know.
I'll show up at your door pretending to be a telephone lady, and we'll see how creepy you are.
Yeah. Well, and I have to say, I think this is the first time the word twink has been used in this podcast. So congrats to the straight man for throwing that term out there. That was very nice.
I just watched It's Always Sunny. Sorry.
Oh, okay. It's all good. I thought Ian McGregor was cute, but he wasn't as suave. I mean, he was... If you had both of those characters walk into a room, you'd say, Ian McGregor's kind of the hip Brit, whatever. But some of the looks that we got from Rock Hudson in that film were just beautiful, beautifully photographed, very unique looks. And some people are down on Doris Day. I think for what she knew where she fit into the material, and the chemistry between those two actors is simply amazing. And the fact that Rock Hudson was gay, to me, that says even more about those performances. That they were able to capture those characters, and really you could see the love in their eyes. And the way that it was written, you got to know Rock Hudson's character within the first kind of 5 minutes. That he's direct, but it's what I would believe to be suave. And I like his performance. He plays it straight in a lot of ways, all the puns intended. But he delivers a great performance that helps set up all of the other cast. And you talked about Thelma Ritter, who was amazing. And I think that Rachel Dretch was actually kind of trying to fill that role in Down with Love, but can't come anywhere close. Hey, it's Tony Randall. Tony, it was amazing seeing him in his prime, and that's what I love about watching older films. I love watching stars that you've grown up with and seeing them in a different way. The same thing when I see like Jack Lemmon in his earlier black and white pictures. He's at his best there. I think in Down with Love he's good, but if I had to choose how I want to remember him as an actor, I would totally be his Pillow Talk younger self. It was just a very unique sense of neuroses in that character, and again, a smaller part, but I think that the ensemble and the leads in Pillow Talk took it a step further. Their characters weren't as complex in the page as they are in Down with Love, but the magic that comes across on screen, I think, still resonates to this day when you view that film. And I'm going to have to give my acting vote to Pillow Talk.
All right.
Ooh.
This aggression
That's right.
Stand, man.
That's right. That's right.
So Sam, what you're saying is you like big men, because Rock Hudson was like 6'4" or 6'5" or something. So you don't.
Actually, I don't find. I mean, I think yes, Rock Hudson's attractive, but he wouldn't be. It's not like I would swoon over him. But I just like the manliness that he portrayed. Right. And I just love those performances. And Renee Zellweger, you take a big part of a movie that you don't like one of the lead's performances, and in my opinion, that's going to kind of sour you on that movie itself when you're talking about acting.
But it's not, though. I took her out, and I still gave it to Down with Love. So I think my credibility is on firm ground.
Think all you want, Tom.
No, hang on. We're just talking about in the construct of this podcast, not any of the crazy shit that I've done outside of this.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, okay.
Duly
okay.
noted.
Don't judge this single work on my life's canon. Okay, that would be unfair to me, not to her, but to me.
All right.
One thing I just wanted to point out. I just realized that. I mean, they both take place in that era, but I mean, the movies have different viewing audiences. Back in the 50s and 60s, the manly man was the big, tall Rock Hudson, and now it's Ewan McGregor. I mean, you people like Ewan McGregor, Tom Cruise, other people, smaller guys, but they're playing that super suave playboy. I think that's just kind of a generational thing.
Yeah,
hell yes.
Sure. Well, I think Ian does it good. Like, I definitely would want to see Tom Cruise. Like, that would be it just wouldn't work. Like, Ian McGregor, he's hip enough that he fits just into this. And if all Down with Love was that small sketch with Ian and Renee that was at the credits, that's also on the special features, Down with Love would win for me. Like, the feelings that I get from that. Do you know what I'm talking about? That musical piece that runs during the credits that Chris Parnell opens?
Yeah, the one that they made the director shoot.
Yeah. I love it. There's so much fun.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, they
It
insisted
was a nice little
on
fun
doing
ending. Somebody's been reading their IMDb trivia, Mike.
Yes, I have.
So have I.
In the dinner scene near the end of Pillow Talk, the restaurant patrons were supposed to deck Tony Randall, who would fake a reaction to the blow and slide down unconscious in the booth seat. However, during filming, the actor overestimated his hook and accidentally knocked out Randall for real. the shot wound up being so good that the accidental knockout is the one shown in the film.
No way. That
Yes.
was so
Yeah,
fake.
no, that can't be because it looked totally.
I agree.
Fake.
It looked totally fake to me
It
too.
looked totally fake.
IMDb might be lying.
I'm pulling
Maybe.
it up.
Vicky, Sarah Paulson, suspects that Peter, David Hyde Pierce, is gay, although he isn't. In just a few short years, both Hyde Pierce and Paulson both came out as homosexual.
Huh.
I guess Sarah Paulson, for anyone that watches 24, I guess she was dating the female president during the last two seasons of 24.
Cherry Jones?
Yes.
I love Cherry Jones.
Yes,
I pay to
so
watch
do
her
I.
eat pudding.
Yep, I agree.
She's fantastic.
So yeah, there you go.
Sarah Paulson was also in a TV show called Studio 60 at the Sunset Strip that was on a couple years ago. Awesome show. If you guys want to check it out, she's very, very good in that.
All right. I'm going to ask you you guys have been talking about the actors, at least for Down with Love, but let's go ahead and use this for both films. If there's any actor that you think would have done better than any of them in any of the films, and you could replace them with them, who would it be?
Sorry.
In Down with Love, instead of Renee Zellweger, I'd like to see B. Arthur's corpse.
Wow.
Wow. That's pretty rough.
Wow!
Holy crap.
Okay. I don't. I'm the one who said Renee Zellweger is unattractive, but yeah, of course, I don't think she's.
I mean, if you want to categorically improve, the character and the acting across the board, that's who I'd go with.
Fair enough.
Wow.
Anyone else would like a corpse?
Wow. How do you follow that up? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. If we could pick, okay, let's change the question slightly. If we could pick any corpse.
Okay, there you go. Any corpse.
Probably Rock Hudson's course and put him in Down with Love.
There you go.
He's dead. Sorry.
I think
No, that's fine. That's fine. People die. I'm not going to say corpse. I'm going to say I want to see Danny DeVito instead of Tony Randall. Like, I understand Tony Randall as the boss in Down with Love, but something I don't know, something about Danny DeVito I think would be funny
Very
to kind of have.
authoritative 5'1" man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I would put Lauren Bacall's corpse in place of.
Zellweger.
Although she's still alive, though. So we'll have to wait for that. It'll have to be a
I don't know if you know this, Gabe, but a lot of people listen to this, so if she accidentally winds up dead.
Well, I don't want that.
Oh, okay. All
Not
right.
at all. No.
It's not premeditation.
They're like, Gabe Rowald did that. He wanted to see her
No, it wasn't
Down
me.
with Love.
He wanted to use her body in a movie, in a remake, man.
That'd be
It
creepy.
wasn't available yet, so
Gabe invites us
Okay.
all over to watch Down with Love, his cut, and there's just a rotoscope Lauren Bacall in there. Oh, that'd be awful. All right, well, let's move on to round number 3, which is directing. And we're going to start with Gabe on this one. So who are you going to kill for directing, Gabe?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, if I could pick a corpse to direct these movies, no, I don't know. It's interesting with these two. I think I don't know. It kind of obviously it plays into the acting, and I think both were very they were very openly almost campy with the acting, and I think obviously that's a directorial choice on it. But what I found about Down with Love is that I felt like it was kind of a different genre, really. I mean, it's probably listed under romantic comedy, but I might list it under something like near musical, because it's kind of a musical, but kind of not, because the characters definitely speak and move in rhythm, and there are certain actions that coincide with the music, but they don't ever really break out and sing. So it's not really what I would call a musical, but it's kind of close. And I'm not sure what I would, I'm not sure what that is. I've never really seen that before. And I thought the pacing on Down with Love was very tight. It was very succinct. It was always moving. Uh-huh. There was no downtime, and you never felt like you were waiting for anything to happen, really. And so I feel like from a directing standpoint, from a cinematography, from a style, from an editing standpoint, that Down with Love is very tight, very consistent, very well thought out, and easily trumps, in my opinion, the directing for Pillow Talk.
All right. Let's go ahead and head over to Rap.
All right. Well, there are just some... I didn't know where else to put them as far as what other categories to put them in, but things that I noticed in movies that kind of showed the time in which they were shot. In Down with Love, I don't know if anyone noticed when Renee Zellweger comes out of she just comes out of Central Station and she's getting into a cab and they have a long shot down the street and there's just American flags lining the street. Mm-hmm. I thought that was super interesting because the movie was shot in 2003, so it was right at the height of like the big patriotism push after 9/11 and everything. So I thought that was kind of an interesting insert because it's in older movies you generally don't see a lot of American flags kind of showing that patriotism, but it was something the director definitely meaningfully put in there. Another thing I liked in Down in Love was the just very, very obvious throwback to when they're driving in the car, the terrible green screen behind them when they're driving. I thought that was really funny. I like when sketch comedy shows do that sorts of stuff, and I thought it was a very purposeful placing of I guess kind of bad green screen.
Right.
Where are my notes for Pillow Talk? Yeah, I think Gabe kind of said it right with the short and succinctness and like the movement with Down with Love. It kind of helps pull you through the story. The camera's always moving, the people are always doing stuff, so it's kind of nice to just have you're kind of riding along the movie. Where with Pillow Talk, it was a lot of stationary. There's a lot of longer shots, a lot of panning and tilting. There wasn't a lot of cutting back and forth in some of the scenes. So I thought that the pacing's a little slower, so it kind of doesn't kind of draw you through the movie as well. I did like the musical score for both these movies. I thought the music that was picked and used was awesome. Definitely added a lot of kind of put you in the right mood for the movie and the storyline that was happening. And yeah, I guess I'm going to have to say my last note. I'm going to go with Down with Love.
All right. Thank you, Rap. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to Sam.
Well, I'm not going to spend the majority of my time talking about how wrong our first two panelists were on this one. Gabe, did you vote for Down with Love or Pillow Talk?
I voted for Down with Love. From a directing standpoint?
From a directing standpoint, okay. Yeah. Well, there was a lot of great work in Down with Love. I happened to watch special features, and there was a lot of tools that this director had to make that feel that really put us in a different time, which I think is very commendable. He does it right away with some of those shots. A lot of that was shot on the back lot and then matted in with the digital matte. And they paid a lot of attention to get that feel. So I think there was some nice work there, and the mood that he was able to establish using all the tools of special effects and really unique sets that were built for it. Some of the traditional methods of using stylized canvas matte paintings on those sets and mixing with the digital, like that's all groundbreaking work. And I think if you look at just that portion of this picture with some of the editing and cinematography, that the director was able to use a lot of those tools to create the mood, and I commend him on that. But one thing that really irked me at places, I think, like an artist that as they make a painting, sometimes you get to a point where you put too much on it. and certain points become dark or heavier. And I think there was some points in Down with Love where there was just a bit too much of that feeling, that kitschy feeling that kind of pulled me out of it a little bit. Tom talked about rear projection. Rear projection was a very common practice when they shot Pillow Talk. They did their version of it in Down with Love, which I thought was cool. They didn't actually. They tried to use the original rear projection, but it just didn't work for their shots. Again, great use of tools for the director. There's part of me on Pillow Talk. The directing is a little bit more invisible. Yes, some of the shots that they used in the cinematography was less dynamic. A lot of that had to do with the tools that they were using, the way they were shooting their films. That's inherent to that period. But there's something about the glory of that black and white, that you have all the tools and palettes and tricks in Down with Love, but the cinematographer really has to paint all of the pictures and does it very well in Pillow Talk. And I think the director, is a little bit more hands-off. He's letting the chemistry of the stars, the power of the script, create this unique narrative that was edgy at the time, but had enough gentleness about it and didn't dwell on certain things that let them get away with something that, for many audiences was shocking at the time. And some really embraced it. It's kind of the basis for the naughtier romantic comedies that we see today. This was some of the traditions that were set up by this director. So I'm pretty torn. But I think what does it for me is I don't like the way the director of Down with Love utilizes Renee Zellweger and maybe a few other of his cast. I just don't think some of the ways that he set them up were flattering, and certainly the cinematographer wasn't flattering to Renee Zellweger. I know it's hard to work sometimes with certain elements.
Slip McGee. Certain corpses just
exactly. Well, and
what was with her walking? Why did she walk like she had to stick up her ass?
Oh.
Like she kept waving her hips like crazy. Is that just like a stylized thing? I was curious. I did not get it.
I think some of it was stylized, but I think sometimes he didn't rein it in enough. As the director, you have to, yes, you want to play it a certain way, but you also want to have control over that so it doesn't look gimmicky. And I think that director had the most tools to work with an incredible cast, huge budget. I'm going to go for simplicity. I'm going to go against the grain of y'all's and give it to Pillow Talk.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. Tom?
And we're heading back into the grain. I'll be honest, I got done watching Down with Love, and I'm going to attribute this to the director, but it gets to the end of the story, and it just kind of limps across the finish line. And there's just kind of this convoluted way that Down with Love, wraps up, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense why they just suddenly turn and I'd be like, really? I mean, I was like, well, I'm certainly going to put some points against Peyton Reed for ending the movie like that, because I think it's kind of his call in terms of, the direction that the movie takes at the very end of the film.
Right.
And then I watched Pillow Talk. And I was like, wait a second. They could have ended Down with Love way worse, because I got done with Pillow Talk and it's just like, hey, you effed up my apartment. Let's get married. And it just, and I thought the obstetrics thing was really funny. I thought that was really hilarious. But the whole reversal at the end, I just, when you're doing a movie like this, you need to be building up character chemistry and chemistry between the actors. So, and you use that as a lever to force that reversal at the end that's believable. And both of these films spectacularly fail at that. And I mean, I could put it on the acting and the writing as well, but I'm going to put it on the director. And because Pillow Talk seems like, I swear to God, they were looking at their stopwatch and like, we got to wrap this thing up in 30 seconds. And Down with Love had more of 2.5 minutes to wrap it up. I'm gonna give the directing credit to Down with Love, mostly because of the just absolute awesome cinematography in Down with Love. And the new IMDb layout doesn't put all the crew underneath it like they used to, so I can't pull it up real quick. But I think it was Jeff Chenoweth that did the cinematography for Down with Love. And the way that he was able to mimic using, modern cameras, but it's really hard to be able to mimic that look and feel of 1960s film. And I think, the work that he did and the color timing that was done with Down with Love, I think they should get some credit for that. So I'm going to give it to Down with Love because the colors were nice.
All right. Well, to answer your question, it's Jeff Cronenweth.
Yeah.
Shit. And to create the movie's vivid, stylized appearance, he digitally color-timed the movie to simulate the appearance of a 3-strip Technicolor. So, nice. Yeah, he did put some work into it. Spanish TV screened Pillow Talk on 20th July 1969 while everybody was waiting for the Apollo landing on the moon. Suddenly, the film stopped and Spanish people could see the landing directly. The film was not re-shown on TV until 1999, when Spanish viewers could at last see the ending. That'd suck. Waiting 30 years?
Yeah.
Man, they didn't miss much.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, according to the Toms, they didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Moon landing was a much better ending.
No, es muy bueno.
Just real quick, I want to talk about something that Sam said, that Pillow Talk, was kind of laying the foundation of romantic comedies. And I agree kind of to a point because, quite honestly, without Rock Hudson's character, I don't think there would be a Quagmire or a 2.5 Men at all. It's just that Playboy esque type character. And I mean, Quagmire, he has all the little gadgets that he can flip the switch, and Charlie on 2.5 Men was, the piano guy who has always had a woman with him. And to me, it just seems like that character was created by Rock Hudson. And there have been a lot of different versions of that character, but, he was the singularity. So that's just my opinion. I'm not saying you guys are wrong or right.
So one character makes that a better directed movie?
No. I just wanted to get back to what Sam was saying
okay.
about how it kind of laid foundation for the romantic comedies. As far as the directing, I have to abstain. So since I'm just the host and the ref, I've got a safe fare. All right, let's move on to our fourth round, which is going to be overall. And Rap, your first one out of the gate.
Oh, why do I have to be first again? All right. I'm going to pick Leprechaun Back to the Hood as my favorite between these two movies. Sorry, the viewers might not understand that we were talking about earlier. It's funny. I was just been looking over my notes while other people have been talking. I haven't really been listening to Sam. He's been good for me to read my notes.
Oh, wow. Smack talk.
Yeah, there's some stuff.
Gabe and Top have been listening to every word. Good stuff.
Naturally, thank you.
And right now, my totals, I have 2 picks for Down with Love and 1 for Pillow Talk, but I know that doesn't necessarily pick me. I would say, I'm going to have to say, overall, I didn't really enjoy either film all that much. And it's not because I don't like romantic comedies. I like plenty of romantic comedies. Neither of these had just, everything I needed. I mean, they had stuff to help pull me through. Down with Love had great acting, great characters. I thought the writing wasn't the best, but the characters were good enough, and the beautiful shots pulled me through the movie and got me through it. And I'm glad I saw both these movies because it's definitely something I'm not used to normally watching. Pillow Talk, I thought I love watching older movies because just seeing the dynamics and I'm kind of a history nerd, so seeing them make comments about what's going on in society in a film is kind of interesting to see how Hollywood kind of takes on what's going on in society as opposed to what we always just see in the media. One thing that kind of hurt me with Down with Love was the fake fun. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Donnie Darko, how, spoiler alert, the whole movie never really happens because he's he dies. So that usually kind of like makes me wonder why I watched the movie, why the director or writers chose to go that way. And it's very frustrating. I thought Pillow Talk was a great classic little romance comedy. I thought there were parts where I laughed out loud. And I think overall I'm going to have to go with Pillow Talk.
All right. Thank you, Rap. Sam, you're up.
Tom, you're making some sense, even though you're dissing me all over the place. Jesus.
Think that's Sam?
Yeah. Keep talking. Or please don't keep talking. Overall, it's tough. I really do respect what was done with Down with Love. It is beautiful. The colors are fantastic. The mood the mood is exciting. And as a filmmaker, it's so cool to see, someone whisk you away to a much different time, but yet connect with audiences on the same kind of level. And, I do enjoy both of these films, but after watching them again, there's something about the original Pillow Talk that, if you want to watch a good movie on Valentine's Day, which is kind of why we're doing this, romantic love thing, if you want to watch something that's, sweet and makes you feel good about love, then you should definitely watch Pillow Talk. Down with Love, if you want something that's a little sassier, a little bit, more on the women's power kind of side, definitely you're going to watch Down with Love. But these are two products of different times. There was different waves in feminism, from what I understand. I can't, I'm not a scholar in women's studies, even though you may think I am. But there's different waves in feminism, and
I have a BS in it.
And the character in Pillow Talk, she was very empowered for that time. But in the end, in the late 1950s, you still ended up with a man, and that still made you whole. And a lot of the things that we say that's ridiculous today, but that was the audience that they were definitely playing to. That yes, she's an independent woman, but now she's got a suave man. She's even better at the end, and what a happy couple. Down with Love, I don't like the twist about at the end, because I had loved so much of it up to that point when I first saw it, and then it's like,
right.
It has a strange feeling that, and then this happens, this happens, and then this happens, and we're done. And cue the cute little music video at the end. And I was really disappointed in that. There was so much buildup, so much invested in creating this really cool universe and great sets and feelings and all this stuff, and then it just kind of peters out at the end. Now, Pillow Talk, I know Haggis didn't really like the way that it ended. He did like the joke about the obstetrics. But for me, what I liked about that ending was there was a joke that was kind of brewing throughout. It was very funny. There was some physical business in there. And then you kind of get that big payoff at the end, and you leave with a really big smile, as opposed to, it's over? So as much as I appreciate the what they did with Down with Love, it's definitely a unique entry in the romantic comedy category. I just think you have to go with Pillow Talk.
All right. Thank you, Sam.
Oh, one more thing I wanted to say.
Sure.
Costume-wise, Down with Love, there's this scene where there's these sexy space type dancers.
Yes.
They have this purplish outfits on. The costuming in Down with Love, that's something I don't think we've really touched on too much, but that was phenomenal as well. That was just that is one thing I do want to give a shout out to, because not only did they have all the sets and they did a lot of the effects perfectly, costumes lived up to that. And they weren't just, vintage costumes. They were new interpretations on them, and those sexy space dancers are pretty cool.
Well,
according to my researchers at IMDb, that was all custom made.
Yep.
Nice.
And they also said that eBay was a really good source of finding all the period costumes and the props as well. You took away my only job, Tom.
They're my researchers, too.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Let's go ahead and head over to Tom's.
All right. So, I'm not going to, do any backhanded comments or anything. I think Pillow Talk is kind of like Tang. like, it's this relic of a bygone era. It's like, oh, isn't that cute? And it's, but I don't feel that there's a whole lot of connection with today's audiences. I mean, we recently did It's a Wonderful Life, and I feel like that's a movie that has been able to transcend a whole lot of the social norms and everything that were acceptable back then when that movie was made. It still resonates today, whereas I don't think Pillow Talk, right down to the whole party line concept. I feel there's going to come a point where my kids are going to ask me about this. I'm going to go, I'm sorry, but the party line thing actually predates me as well. So, I just kind of felt that it's weird because Down with Love, so much is pays so much, such a tribute to Pillow Talk.
Right.
And yet it connects with me on a much deeper level, and it's not that deep, but deeper than Pillow Talk did, because I kept Pillow Talk at an arm's length because there was this constant barrage of, these, even just words and phrases and interaction between people of different races. Even I found in Pillow Talk was just very odd to me and very out of place. And I'm just trashing this movie mercilessly. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna give it to Down with Love because I really enjoy the movie. I find it really, really funny.
And you really like Renee Zellweger.
Oh my God, she's so hot. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm mixing up my words. I'm awful. That's the word I was looking for. She's so awful. Seriously, I mean, I really like Cold Mountain. I think it's a really, really great movie. I can't watch it because of her, which is too bad because like Jack White's in it and he's awesome. So I'm going to give it to Down with Love just because I know I'll watch Down with Love again. I probably won't watch Pillow Talk again. And it comes down to David Hyde Pierce because he hits it out of the park. I think it's one of the funniest performances. I'd say top 10 funniest performances, in the last decade.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Gabe, you close us out.
Wow. There's not a lot left to be said, really. Yeah, but I feel like, Pillow Talk kind of, in a certain sense, I guess I should have done a little more research. I should know my cinematic history a little bit better than I do. But it seems to me that Pillow Talk really kind of set a precedent for Down with Love. And that Down with Love wouldn't even exist without Pillow Talk. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have anything to reference. The writers wouldn't have been inspired to do kind of an homage or even a parody of Pillow Talk or anything like it. And I do feel like they kind of set the precedent for those types of situations and those types of characters. And I don't know that you should, I don't know how much credit a movie should get for setting a precedent, but it to me, there's a certain amount of originality and a certain amount of respect that comes from that, and it's shown in a movie like Down with Love, because they were definitely respectfully referencing Pillow Talk. So I think in the end, I'm kind of with the other guys. I mean, I enjoyed both of these movies, mm-hmm. But I'm not sure I would ever consciously choose to sit down and watch these on my own. Like, oh yeah, hey, I'm going to watch Pillow Talk again, or I'm going to watch Down with Love. But I think, I have to give Pillow Talk my vote for the precedent that it set, and for the other types of movies that it spawned in respect to it.
All right. Thanks, Gabe. What'd you write? Thanks. Sorry. Freeze framed it. The hit on Tony Randall, totally fake. This whole podcast is a sham. Thanks, Tom. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, that didn't look real at all.
55 sets were built in 4 sound stages for Down with Love. I really did like the set design. I liked the fake. I watched some of the extras while Amanda was doing something else while I was waiting for her to come back. So I was watching some of the extras, and the skyline, you know, in Renee Zellweger's apartment is totally impossible. But they were like, well, in a lot of the 50s, 60s movies, you would get those skylines just so people would recognize that it was New York. So you would get these buildings that are in the wrong spots. And the average shot length is 5 seconds in Down with Love, which is twice as long as the average shot in a Michael Bay movie. Just want to point that out.
No way. Michael Bay never holds a shot for more than 2.5 seconds.
2.3 to 2.6.
Oh, give me a... God, I have to take drugs when I watch this film.
I love Michael Bay movies. Because I'm on drugs. This Pillow Talk was the first of 3 movies to showcase the trio of Doris Day, Rock Hudson, and Tony Randall all together. It was followed by Lover Come Back and Send Me No Flowers, with all 3 actors portraying different roles in each. And I have to say, I've seen all 3, and I grew up with them. So when I saw Down with Love, I really liked it because it was taking me back to those films. But yeah, I like both films. I can't deny it. Renee Zellweger really bothers me. I'm not going to hate on either movie like Tom does. But yeah, she really bothered me. And I would probably say the corpse of whoever Gabe is going to kill and put in her place would probably work better. So
we're all agreed that Renee Zellweger is just the worst.
Yes. Yep, totally agreed.
Well, you're the only one agreed. Everyone else is still muted.
Well, it could be worse. It could have been like Fran Drescher or something in that role. So
she's at least attractive.
Really?
Oh, wait, did I say attractive? I
can look in her eyes and know what she's feeling.
That's true. You can see her eyes.
I think I misspoke when I said attractive when I meant to say appalling. Sorry, my bad. I misspoke.
All right. Well, here we go, guys. This is your chance to give the listeners, tell them something that you would recommend that they watch instead of either one of these films. While I try to do math, I've got to get the abacus out. So we will go ahead and start with Sam.
Well, I really wanted to give a different pick this week, and I know that most of the panel probably won't want to watch this film, but I hope that they do. We're talking about romantic comedies, and we've had kind of the gay undertones, on both sides, both Down with Love and, of course, Pillow Talk. So I thought I would recommend a really good gay romantic comedy for you to watch. It's actually it's a really beautiful story, and it's called A Beautiful Thing from 1996. It was shot in the UK. It's kind of a love story of 2 ordinary young men that don't know that they're gay and basically find each other. They're both kind of the port in the storm, if you will, as they're dealing with all kinds of new emotions, new feelings, and not knowing how to vocalize them or express them. As an audience member, you're really drawn into the drama that this creates. There are some funny moments in there. There's a wonderful soundtrack. Almost all of it is done by the Mamas and the Papas. And it's just got a really warm feel to it. And I know there's some people that, this subject matter might not sound engaging, but if you watch the film, I think gay or straight, you get a real sense of some of the problems and other things that are inherent in any relationship, whether it's a man and a woman or a man and a man. This one actually is more, it's not really a comedy. It's a little darker than that, but there are some really funny parts in it. It's called Beautiful Thing from 1996. Check it out. You can get it on Netflix.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Tom?
My pick for this week, we didn't talk we kind of touched on it real briefly, but we didn't talk a whole lot about the production code. And when Hollywood was kind of tied and bound by these laws from the government about the kind of movies that they could make and what they can say and what they can show and how absolutely ridiculous it was at the time and it is now looking back on it. And how it also kind of spurned some of the greatest films, and during this period that writers were forced into this really great expanse of creativity. And I had a gangster movie actually picked out, but I'm going through the podcast just now. I'm going to go ahead and change it up, and what I want to do is recommend a screwball comedy from 1938 that was done under the production code, which is really, really funny. Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant in Bringing Up Baby.
Oh, yes.
It is so hilarious and so funny, and the things that the writers were forced to invent in order to get around the production code, the ways that they were able to talk about sex and man and women relationships and everything else, and it was it's really creative and really clever, and the way that they were able to kind of wink and nudge and do this all at the same time, while the government was watching them and forced to kind of let it go because of the layers of plot that were laid on top of it. So I'm going to recommend the Howard Hawks film Bringing Up Baby. It's absolutely hilarious. Pay attention if you're watching it. Pay attention to the bone that Katharine Hepburn keeps hiding from Cary Grant. She's took his bone and he can't get it back. Get it? Hey. Okay, well, there you go.
So he can't hide the bone, but she can.
She has his bone and she won't give it back.
Wow.
If you know what I mean. Rim shot.
All right, Gabe.
All right, well, I tried to stick with the theme this month for my recommendation, and I was trying to think of romantic comedies that I like. And, I don't know that I had any kind of original ones that a lot of our viewers hadn't seen before. I was thinking of things like, Something About Mary, and that kind of stuff that I enjoyed that, in the end was a romantic comedy. Well, I think my suggestion this month is going to be Gross Point Blank, actually, because I enjoyed that a lot, and it's really kind of it's a romantic comedy that is really, really well hidden under this whole kind of kind of assassin spy kind of movie. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was well written and well acted, and just in the end, kind of an enjoyable movie. I don't know that there's anything really great about it, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. And the funny thing is, one of the coolest parts of the movie to me is the fight choreography. And it's funny to say that about a romantic comedy because in the end that's what it is. But it's a guy thing to notice, I suppose, about a romantic comedy is the fight choreography. It seems very realistic and strangely kind of out of place because it's like, wow, that they really look like they're kicking the shit out of each other. It ends up being just a really satisfying movie. So I would recommend Gross Point Blank.
All right. Thanks, Gabe. Wrap. You're wrapping us up.
All right. So I've been thinking long and hard about which movie I would like to recommend. And since we are on romantic comedies, there's this lovely little movie came out a few years ago. It's about a vampire named Edward and this pale chick named...
Come on! You want to come back?
I haven't said the name of the movie yet. If you would just wait, I'm trying to find the title.
All right, I will give you the benefit of the doubt.
I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to go with kind of a funnier, more newer romantic comedy. I Love You, Man. It's got Jason Segel and Paul Rudd. I think the way they play off each other is great. Mm-hmm. They're hilarious. It's got Rashida Jones in it, who's good looking. She's kind of just there. I think she's in it for like 9 minutes or something. But yeah, it's a kind of a guy's take on a romantic comedy, but I think it's really well done and it's very funny. And it doesn't have vampires in it.
Kind of a bromance, if you will.
A little bit of that.
Oh my God, you scared the crap out of me. Seriously.
All right. Well, the votes have been tallied, so I'm going to poke the monkey again. And here's your winner.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Pillow Talk.
That was Tom booing in the background.
Very surprising. Very surprising.
Yeah, considering this was the absolute closest we've ever had. It was one vote off from being a tiebreaker, which I was really kind of 9-7. I don't think we've had one like that close. But
yeah, have we ever had one that close?
I think it would be interesting to see, if we have female listeners out there, if there's a difference, a gender difference of how these films are received, and what would a Cinesmack look like if it was an all-female cast talking about these two same romantic comedies? Would it be so close? Would there be lots of different points?
I think it'd be pretty much the same.
Really? The Pillow Talk would win because it's better? I'm sorry. Did Pillow Talk just win? Okay.
You know what? I forgot to do my pick. I stuck with the romantic comedies, and it's called Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I don't know if any of our panelists have seen it, but I watched it while I was sick. Yes, while I was sick last week. It's on Netflix streaming, and it is hilarious. It's a great take on the whole college kids go camping in the woods, and it's a spoof on the horror films. And I thought the writing was clever. I thought the acting was great. It stars Tyler Labine, I think I'm saying his name right, and Alan Tudyk, who was Wash on Firefly.
Yeah. Alan Tudyk, he is awesome. He was on Arrested Development. He was awesome.
Yeah,
he's
cool. So if you guys get a chance, check out Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is almost kind of like a bromance. Once again, thanks, Tom. But
you're.
Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add? No? Okay. Tom, why don't you tell us where people can hunt you down and tell you you're wrong?
This time or other time?
The Tom number 1.
That doesn't narrow it down.
That doesn't narrow it down.
Original Tom.
I've never been Tom.
The guy with the first name Tom.
I've never been Tom number 1.
Original Tom.
Original.
And I've never been called original. But I assume you're talking about me.
Yes.
People can find me on Facebook and Twitter by searching for Tom Haggis. I'm on there. So check it out. I'll probably spend the next 30 days bitching about the Oscars. So come on over.
All right.
Follow me.
Sam.
Well, I just want to thank the whole panel. It's been a lot of fun, and thank our listeners. Hope in the second year we continue to expand. We got a lot of upcoming shows that are going to continue to smack it up and be a lot of fun. You can find me on Facebook, and also the 48-Hour Film Project is just around the corner. You can always find out information about that at 48hourfilm.com/Des Moines.
All right. Gabe.
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Gabriel Rowold, Rowold. And I'd like to thank Tom Rapp for joining us this month. It was a pleasure having you on the show with us. And as always, it's a good time.
All right. Yep. Agreed. Thank you, Tom, for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Where can people find you on the Webernets if you want them to find you or follow you or track you down?
If you want to track me down, it's going to be pretty easy. I'm kind of everywhere. You can find me on Facebook. If you aren't my friend, you can add me, but you'll have trouble finding me because I'm limited in searches. But Twitter, I'm pretty easy to find, just Tom Rapp, R-A-P-P. I will be launching a new YouTube page soon with stuff I've been working on, short films from last year, this year, new musical stuff that I'm beginning to work on.
All right.
So kind of giving myself a little bit of a plug for that, but keep a lookout for my new YouTube page as well.
That's fine. That's what we're for.
And thanks everybody for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no problem. And don't worry, you're welcome back.
All right, good.
All right. We would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you're listening to us on. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. Visit our little part of the Webernets at cinesmack.wordpress.com or dirtyhanger.com. We will be we started a Facebook contest for each show before they air. You will get the chance to win a copy of the film that wins the bout, or your choice, by guessing who the winner will be. Character Smack is a new Cinesmack spinoff. and it's going to actually be starting up next week. They're going to be taking the second Wednesday of every month, and it's going to be Batman versus Sherlock Holmes. And next episode, you can join us as we welcome our special guest, Trevor Zook, and run around at crotch level with Leprechaun 4. I can't believe I wrote that. Leprechaun 4 in space versus Leprechaun 5 in the hood. I can't believe he went to space before he went to the hood. It's just weird. So for Gabe, Tom, Sam, Tom, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Mr. Allen, this may come as a shock to you, but there are some men who don't end every sentence with a proposition.
Well, that's just what we call pillow talk, baby.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.